Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we've got a lot of stuff to go over regarding the Baltimore Orioles. Obviously, today was the trade deadline, and the trade deadline ended about 4.5 hours ago. Wanted to get on here and obviously record an episode talking about every single trade that the Orioles went through. Obviously, this was a very busy trade deadline for the Baltimore Orioles, and in the past 24 hours, they've made 6 trades in the last 24 hours. So it was an extremely busy deadline for the Baltimore Orioles. They made 9 total trades prior to the deadline. A very, very crazy time to be an Orioles fan. Obviously, these are the consequences that you have to have whenever you are a team that is selling, which the Orioles were hard sellers. And I will say one thing before we go deep into these reviews over the prospects and everything like that. I will say that I'm glad that Mike Elias did not kind of teeter on both edges of whether to compete and try and make a push or whether to sell. He decided to go all in and sell this team, do the responsible thing, and sell the expiring contracts. He also traded a lot of non-expiring contracts as well, such as guys like Ramon Laureano, Andrew Kittredge, Brian Baker, obviously. So those 3 guys do not have expiring contracts because they all have, at least Laureano and Kittredge had club options for next season. Brian Baker had a couple years left on his deal. But in all of the players that got traded, it was obviously Brian Baker was the first, and then Gregory Soto and Seranthony Dominguez. Those were the 3 that we've gone over so far in these past episodes during the deadline and while it's been a thing. But over the last 24 hours, where the trade deadline has really started to heat up, you've seen multiple trades around the league. The Orioles were among some of the most active teams in the entire league, and the Orioles made 6 trades in the last 24 hours, including the trade with Ramon Urias, the trade with Andrew Kittredge, Cedric Mullins, Ramon Laureano, Ryan O'Hearn, and Charlie Morton. So really it was 5 trades, but it was 6 players that were traded in this span. Again, crazy time today. Crazy day for the Orioles as well. We're going to go over all of the stuff that they got in return for these prospects, but I do want to say again, one more time, that I do think that this was the right thing to do. I think that trading Laureano was a little bit much. I think that we could have kept Laureano for next season, and he could have helped us a lot next year, especially as just a veteran-like presence. But overall, I'm glad that we did these trades. I know it hurts for a lot of the fan base. I know the fan base is really split right now between whether they're happy with the return or whether they're upset that these guys gotten traded. I think in general, when you're a selling team, I think in general the fan base is not going to be happy in general because you're a selling team. And obviously we understand the expectations that this Orioles team had this year that they just haven't fulfilled. So I think the general basis is obviously that people are upset. And I think it's more that people are just upset that we have to sell, which I am obviously as well. But at this point in the season, you kind of just got to do what's best for the team and gear up for 2026. And with all of these trades, it's really going to set up a lot of chances for guys like Dylan Beavers, Kobe Mayo, and Samuel Basallo, who are going to be able to have, somewhat regular at-bats now for the rest of the season going into spring training next year. So that's really good. I think Kobe Mayo is going to really benefit out of this. I think Dylan Beavers is also really going to benefit out of this. And then I think Basallo is going to benefit as well, either as a backup catcher or as a rotational first baseman guy or just the full-time DH. We'll see what happens with him. There is a lot of calling up that's going to be having to be done soon over these next couple of weeks or so as the Orioles, put back together a team that they just traded 9 players for in the past few weeks. Really 8 players in the past week. So again, it was a crazy time for the deadline, but let's just go over these trades. So the first trade that I want to go over is the first trade that happened last night. Again, I've already covered the Brian Baker trade, I've already covered the Gregory Soto trade, and I've already covered the Seranthony Dominguez trades because those trades happened a few days ago. Obviously, Dominguez got traded in the middle of the doubleheader against the Blue Jays the other day on Saturday, I believe, and then Gregory Soto got traded a couple days before that, and then Brian Baker got traded a week before the draft. So we've already gone over those trades, but in terms of the trades that happened within the last 24 hours. Obviously, there is a lot of them to go over. But the first one that happened last night, that happened like 30 minutes after I uploaded yesterday's episode. And again, if you don't remember from yesterday's episode, I waited till the end of the day to see if there was any trades that were going to happen yesterday. And then I waited till like 9:30. Nothing happened. And then I decided to record, posted it, and then like 20 minutes later, the Orioles traded Ramon Urias to the Houston Astros for right-handed pitcher Twine Palmer, who Twine Palmer is a player who is not ranked on the top 30 prospects for the Astros, and at the time when this trade went through, it was very much kind of surprising because you look at Ramon Urias as a very big utility guy, someone who can play second, he can play short, he can play third, he can play all around the field, he can help you in multiple different ways, and obviously we know him as a former Gold Glove third baseman and somebody who is an incredible defender even now. Somebody who has a decent bat for the Orioles. He's been a contributor for the Orioles over the past few years. He's been a fan favorite, and somebody who I don't think that the Orioles thought would stick around this long in their lineup, but he kept being productive, and the Orioles end up trading him to the Houston Astros, who at the time of this trade were very desperate for a third baseman. The Astros ended up trading for Carlos Correa earlier today, so they kind of got that on lock. So I don't really know the role that Ramon's going to be playing. It's going to be probably similar to what he was in Baltimore, as like a rotational utility guy on the left side of the bases. But Ramon Urias is going to the Astros for Twine Palmer, and all these trades have been confirmed at this point. The top 100 prospects and everything like that have been updated and all that, and we'll go over that in a second. But Twine Palmer was not a top 30 prospect for the Astros, so at the time it kind of just felt like we traded him for nothing. But Twine Palmer is somebody who Mike Elias and the Orioles think that they can unlock something in him to potentially be a contributor for this Orioles team in some way, shape, or form down the line. He's a 20-year-old pitcher. He's young. He's in like high A. And I'll also say this as like a disclaimer. A lot of the Orioles trades that they made today, a lot of the prospects that they got back will not be helping them next season. A lot of the prospects that they got are younger guys who are going to help them, maybe in like 2, 3, even 4 years down the line. So in terms of next season, a lot of next season's questions are going to be answered via how these young guys perform that are going to be getting regular at-bats, like I said earlier, like Dylan Beavers, Samuel Basayo, and Kobe Mayo. And then also this offseason for the Orioles is going to be one of the most important offseasons in Orioles history because Mike Elias has a chance to right the wrongs of what happened last year. And he saw what happened last year when we don't surround these guys with the pitching, when you don't surround this young talent with the pitching. And now going into next year, you're going to have a fully stacked, young team, just like they did going into this year, but even stronger next year in terms of the young talent. And then you're also going to have a very increased, boosted farm system that you can use to trade for pitchers to boost the squad up and possibly contend next offseason or next season. And then this offseason, they can go out and spend some money on some pitchers that are available or whatever the deal may be. So this offseason is going to be a very big offseason for the Orioles. There's a lot of holes to fill, and there's a lot of important things to plug up on this Orioles roster. More so regarding the pitching is the main thing. But we are going to be getting reinforcements coming back soon with guys like Kyle Bradish, Tyler Wells, and stuff like that. Grayson Rodriguez, we don't really know anything about right now, but the Orioles should be in a better position going into next season. Again, I'll say my full opinions on everything like this after we go over all these trades. But again, Ramon Urias yesterday gets traded to the Astros for Twine Palmer, somebody who is more of a project-like player, somebody who we're just kind of taking a risk on. It's more of like a lottery ticket. We're just kind of punching in on Twine Palmer. We'll see if he can develop into something cool. Again, literally all of these players that we traded are going to be for prospects. So in a way, all of these guys are just going to be, like lottery tickets for the future. But again, as I did say, the Orioles farm system got a lot better and even better than it already was. You add the draft picks that they got in this past draft, which in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinions as well, the Orioles arguably had the best draft this past draft. They arguably had the best draft when you look at their first round with Aloy and DeBrun and Bodine and and Irish. You look at all those guys that they got in the first round, incredible value for all of them. The farm for the Orioles is incredible, but the Orioles had to make a lot of trades to even boost that farm even more. So Twine Palmer heading to the Orioles, somebody who, again, is going to be a project-like player, someone who's also pretty interesting. A little bit of a description on him right here. Twine Palmer, the Orioles' return for Ramon Urias, was ranked 37th on the Houston's farm by Fangraphs. He's 20. He's 6'5" with a 2.13 ERA and a 25% strikeout rate in low A. He's faced 175 batters this season, and he's only allowed 3 extra base hits. So those are some pretty positive stats by Jacob Calvin Meyer. I'm going to be taking a lot of credit for his tweets today and a lot of the stuff that he put out. He put out a lot of good content, so shout out to him. I just want to give credit to him for a lot of these tweets I'm going to be showing y'all. Again, 6'5" pitcher, 2.13 ERA in low A, 20 years old. Again, it is low A, so the competition is like nowhere near like it is in the majors, obviously, or even in triple and double A. But he's having pretty good stats for where he's at. Again, 175 batters, only 3 extra base hits. Someone that could be pretty decent for the Orioles moving forward. Again, it is a project, but we will see how he develops and how he moves on throughout this Orioles minor league system. And then the next trade that I want to go over is the trade that happened last night as well, and that was the Andrew Kittredge trade for shortstop Wilfrey De La Cruz. We'll go over him in a second, but Andrew Kittredge had a $9 million player, I think it was a club option, a $9 million club option for next season, and he's also somebody who I was a little bit surprised that we traded. I thought that he could be someone that could be a solid just veteran bullpen piece for this year and for next year. He was having an okay year for the Orioles this year, but I thought for next year we were going to pick up that option. He could play next year for us, and then just be a solid veteran guy in this bullpen, because this bullpen as it stands right now is absolutely wiped clean. You lose Andrew Kittredge, you lose Sir Anthony Dominguez, you lose Gregory Soto, and you lose Brian Baker. You lost a lot of your high leverage arms, and really like the only high leverage guys remaining right now is like Keegan Aiken. Like Keegan Aiken is like the main high leverage guy right now in this. Keegan Aiken and Yennier Cano are like the 2 high leverage guys, but Yennier Cano has struggled a lot this year, so I don't even know if I'd consider him high leverage. But the Orioles bullpen as it stands right now, they probably have one of the worst bullpens in baseball. They had one of the more decent bullpens in baseball before this deadline. Now they have completely skyrocketed down, probably to the bottom. This Orioles bullpen as it stands right now is atrocious. Thank God we're not going to try out and go get wins, because at this point wins are not the biggest deal in the world for the Orioles. Mike Elias made it clear that we are sellers. We are focusing on the future, and this season obviously is more of a punt season and more of a development season for the rest of the year as we go on for these next couple of months. But Andrew Kittredge does get traded. I was a little bit disappointed because, again, I thought he could help out next year. But we do get Wilfrey De La Cruz, and I have some info on him as well. He's a 17-year-old, and he plays shortstop. 442 on base percentage this season, and he is the Cubs' number 17 ranked prospect. He signed out of the Dominican Republic for $2.3 million in January, and that bonus would tie the most for an Orioles history for like a rookie, and like a signing bonus off of a international player. So he signed out of the Dominican Republic. He was the Cubs' number 17 ranked prospect. So we were able to trade Andrew Kittredge, who again is just a veteran bullpen guy, who's okay. We were able to get a 17-year-old prospect who is number 17 on the Cubs prospect rankings, and somebody who has a lot of upside, somebody who got a big signing bonus and had one of the bigger signing bonuses among all international players recently. So that's pretty crazy. Again, the bonus would be tied for the most in Orioles history, so there's something there for this guy. The Cubs really did believe in this guy. There's something there, obviously. He was ranked number 17 on the prospect rankings, a guy who can play shortstop, but he is only 17 years old, so we're not going to see this guy for quite a while in the majors. It could be 3 years, could be 4 years, or could be even longer. My guess is probably around 4 to 5 years before we even see this guy in the in an Orioles uniform. Even if he is in an Orioles uniform, we might trade him by then. But we free, very solid pickup, something that's very interesting. Again, a guy with a lot of upside. He's very young, only 17 years old, somebody who can help the Orioles out down the line. And with him being so young and him already being ranked 17 on their prospect rankings, that is pretty good news because he still has a lot of time to move up the pipeline rankings. And for the Orioles, I think he sits at like rank 22 right now because, again, if the Chicago's ranked 17 prospect, it doesn't mean that it's the Orioles ranked 17 prospect. They kind of rank it based on, positional value and stuff like that. But De La Cruz, again, someone that's going to be very interesting for the Orioles. I think that he could have a lot of upside, somebody that could help us later on down the line, like later on down the line. But it's something to look out for. Again, I don't hate this return at all for Andrew Kittredge. Again, he's just a veteran reliever, somebody that I thought could have helped for next season. But when you look towards the future, this could be a home run trade. We might be looking at this trade in a few years, and people might be calling this one of the biggest fleeces of all time in terms of getting a potential guy who's very good. I mean, you look back at trades that happened in the past where you trade a really young prospect. For example, I'm thinking of like the Yordan Alvarez trade when the Dodgers traded Yordan Alvarez to the Astros for a couple of relievers. Yordan Alvarez ended up becoming who he is today, and who knows what this guy's going to be. I'm not saying that this guy's going to be a superstar. We might not even see this guy in the majors. This guy might not even make it past AA, but it is very interesting to see, us trade for such a young player, and we'll see what he becomes. And the next trade that I want to go over is the trade that happened today. So both the Kittredge and the Urias trades happened last night, and then obviously overnight went by, nothing really happened. And then today, for most of the day today, nothing was going on. Literally, like nothing was happening all day today. All morning there was trades going on around the league. The Mason Miller trade was huge for the Padres and the A's. That was going on, big trades were going on back and forth and blah, 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 blah. But the Orioles, the trade deadline was at 5, so the Orioles, with about like 2 hours left until the deadline, that's when they decided to make 3 big moves. The first of those big moves being the Cedric Mullins trade. And it's a trade that, we were hoping that we wouldn't see. Again, Cedric Mullins is an absolute legend in Baltimore, one of the greatest Baltimore center fielders ever, somebody who was the first Oriole to have a 30-30 season. He was an all-star. He hit for the cycle. He's somebody that a lot of Orioles fans just really loved and respected and really cared about, somebody who was an incredible, incredible center fielder and brought a lot of hope to Baltimore in a time where their team sucked. When the Orioles were winning 50 games, him and Trey Mancini were 2 big leaders throughout this team. Really, him, Trey Mancini, and like Anthony Santander were 3 guys who really led this team and gave this team hope. And he really was like like the veteran, like dad of this Orioles team. Like you looked at this team, how young a lot of these guys are, guys like Gunnar and Adley and Jackson and Colton and Jordan. And you look at how young this team is. Cedric Mullins was the longest tenured Oriole before the trade today. He's somebody that everybody loved in Baltimore, everybody respected, and out of all the trades that happened today, this one definitely, obviously, does hurt the most. Orioles fans will forever remember Cedric Mullins, and he did get traded to the New York Mets, and it kind of gives us another reason to root for, not another reason, but it gives us a reason to root for the Mets in the playoffs to see Cedric Mullins. And as I said earlier on my Twitter, if you follow @BirdsOfAFeather on Twitter, I posted and said that Cedric Mullins, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, these guys deserve to be playing winning baseball. They've played so well for the Orioles this year, and it's going to be cool to see them go out there and play meaningful baseball to try and compete and win a championship. So hopefully we see one of these guys win a championship, but going to be rooting for the Mets a little bit on the side as well with Cedric Mullins in New York. Again, Cedric Mullins, a legend in Baltimore, a player that we'll never forget. But when you talk about the return that we got for Cedric Mullins, we got 3 right-handed pitching prospects. And something that you're seeing a lot with these trades that the Orioles are making is that a lot of the people that we're getting back in these trades are pitchers, which is a good thing because the Orioles didn't have any pitching prospects coming up that really excited you. The pitchers for the Orioles were really scarce and thin on the roster and in the farm. So the farm for the Orioles, their pitchers were very thin on the farm. There really wasn't anybody coming up that really caught your eye. I mean, there was guys like Brandon Young and Chase McDermott who we've seen in the big leagues who we've seen in the big leagues, but they haven't really been anything great. And obviously Cade Povich, who has the potential to be someone solid, but he has been dealing with injuries. So, again, one thing that I can say after this deadline is that the Orioles really boosted their farm system overall, but they really, really boosted their pitching in the farm overall. Their pitching prospects that they have in the farm are incredible now, and they really just bulked up on pitchers a lot in this trade deadline, which was good to see, because again, the Orioles don't necessarily need position players; they need hitters. And especially after not getting any position player or getting any pitchers in the first round of the draft, they really made up for that and got a lot of great pitching prospects. So the trade from the Mets gave us Anthony Nunez, who is the number 14 prospect for the Mets, Ramon Gomez, who's the number 30 prospect for the Mets, and Chandler Marsh, who is not ranked in the top 30. But you get the number 30 prospect and you get the number 14 prospect from the Mets, and you get an unranked guy in that trade for the Orioles. So, again, Ramon Gomez, Chandler Marsh, and Anthony Nunez. The number 14 prospect in Nunez, the number 30 prospect in Gomez. So, two top 30 prospects, including the number 14 guy and the number 30 guy. And at the end of the day, I don't hate this return at all for Cedric Mullins. Obviously, Cedric is getting older. He's average-wise, he's not the best hitter in the league. Obviously, his average is a little bit low. I think he's sitting at around a 230 right now at this trade. His home runs were up. He actually was tied for the most home runs on the Orioles. Same thing with another guy who got traded that we'll talk about in just a second. But Cedric Mullins started off the year great. Obviously went on a little bit of a dry spout. But recently in this past homestand, he was incredible. He was robbing home runs. He was getting multi-hit games. He was getting home runs. He was doing everything for the Orioles in this past homestand. But again, overall, it's going to be really cool to see Cedric Mullins play some winning and meaningful baseball. And the Orioles get a decent return out of it. 3 pitchers, 3 right-handed pitchers, 2 guys ranked in the top 30. I'll take that every single day of the week for a guy like Cedric Mullins, a guy who's going to leave. But overall, I'm not mad at this trade at all. But it still sucks to see Cedric go. And then going over the next trade that the Orioles made, and this was the big one. This was the biggest trade that the Orioles made throughout all of the trade deadline season. Obviously, you trade Cedric Mullins, you trade Ramon Urias, you trade Brian Baker, you trade Gregory Soto, you trade Anthony Dominguez, you trade Andrew Kittredge. But this was the big one. This was the big trade, and it just so happened to include both of the biggest Orioles trade deadline guys, the 2 guys who were gaining the most interest on the Orioles, and the 2 guys who could have gotten you the most stuff from the Orioles of all the guys that the Orioles were actually willing to trade. And those 2 guys were Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn. 2 guys who have been, honestly, if you look at it from a full season perspective, 2 of the best Orioles, if not the 2 best Orioles this season. When you look at it from like a big picture, Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn have honestly been like the 2 best Orioles this season in terms of performance. Very close, obviously, with Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, all those guys as well. But Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn were obviously 2 guys that were on the trade block. Ryan O'Hearn was 100% going to be getting traded, but Ramon Laureano was somebody who I didn't think that the Orioles were going to trade, and he's the one that probably hurts the most in terms of like impact of what he's going to do to the team and for next year as well. So the Orioles trade Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn to the San Diego Padres, who had an incredible day, an incredible trade deadline as well. They got Mason Miller, they got Will Wagner, and they also got Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn. The Padres farm system is completely dead. I'm just going to say that right now. Their farm system is completely wiped because they actually traded their number 1 overall prospect and the number 3 overall prospect in all the major leagues. They put that into trade for Mason Miller. It was a crazy ordeal. But the Orioles traded Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn to the Padres for 6 different players. All of them were prospects. So again, all the players that got sent back to the Orioles today were prospects in general. So very interesting. A lot of holes to fill currently on the Orioles with call-ups and stuff like that. But this was the big trade. This was the big one, and at the time when this trade went through, all you really saw initially was that the Orioles are trading all you saw initially was that the Orioles are trading Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano to the Padres. And at the time, when you see that tweet, you kind of sit there and say, okay, the Orioles are going to have to get back like a king's ransom in this deal, because the Orioles are trading arguably their two best players this season, and they're also trading the two guys who are gaining the most interest in trades. Ryan O'Hearn, he's a free agent next year, and he's somebody who I don't think was going to resign. He was somebody that was going to get paid a lot of money this offseason, and he still is. So the Orioles obviously had to go out there, do their due diligence, and trade him. And Ramon Laureano had a $6 million club bonus for next season, and he's somebody who I thought was going to be on the team next year. He was incredible for us this year. Going to keep him the rest of the year. Then next year you pick up that option, and then you go in next year, pick up the club option, and just have him be like a veteran outfielder, somebody who can still play, but maybe not play as much as he did this year, but somebody who could just be on the team as a veteran. But from obviously a very similar thing that I've been talking about this entire time is that the Orioles have been trading pretty much all of their veteran guys. Mullins, Kittredge, and then obviously O'Hearn and Laureano. But when we talk about the return that the Orioles got for Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn, a lot of people are disappointed. I was disappointed at first, but then the more that I think about it, I like it. And it makes a lot of sense when you look at some of these guys and look at some of these prospects. But going over the return, the Orioles got 6 players in return for both of these guys. They got left-handed pitcher Boston Bateman, who is the number 4 prospect in the Padres system. And he is also a 6'8 pitcher. He was the 4th overall prospect in the Padres system, so that was incredible, an incredible get. But then they also get a shortstop / second baseman in Cobb Hightower, who is the number 6 overall prospect in the Padres system. Then they got right-handed pitcher Tyson Neighbors, who is the number 12 overall prospect in the Padres system. And then they got first baseman / outfielder Victor Figueroa, who is the number 29 overall prospect in the Padres system. And then they got an infielder named Brandon Butterworth, who wasn't ranked, and then a right-handed pitcher named Tanner Smith, who wasn't ranked as well. So in this trade with the Orioles and the Padres for Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano, the Orioles ended up getting 4 top 30 prospects. Of the 6 guys that they got back, they got 4 top 30 prospects, and they got 3 top 12 prospects and 2 top 6 prospects. So overall, in those 4 players, the 29th overall prospect, the 12th overall prospect, the 6th overall prospect, and the 4th overall prospect, all in the Padres system. Not overall in the MLB, but in the Padres system, you got number 4, number 6, number 12, and number 29, and 2 unranked guys. And at the end of the day, when you think about what the Orioles want to do, this trade was completely fine in my opinion. I don't really agree with getting rid of Laureano, because I do think that Laureano could have helped us for next season. But when you look at this trade overall, the Orioles don't necessarily have to keep all of these players in their farm, because now when you look at the Orioles farm as a whole, it's ridiculously stacked, and the pipeline rankings right now don't even include the rookies that just got drafted. And I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of the Orioles rookies that got drafted that are going to be, decently high in the Orioles prospect rankings. Guys like Ike Irish, who we got at a great value. Aloy, who we got at a great value. Aloy won the Golden Spikes Award, it's literally the Heisman of college baseball, and the Orioles drafted him like in the pick 30s. So we got Aloy. You go out and you get Caden Bodine, who was the best catcher in this draft. You can go get him just as extra catching support, and then you go out and get Slater DeBrun, who's somebody who was a high school prospect who was very, very valued to be going to Vanderbilt, and he ended up not going to school and ended up signing with the Orioles. So the Slater DeBrun pick was obviously from the Brian Baker trade, but when you look at those 4 first-round rookies, all 4 of those guys we got at an incredible value from when we picked them, and they're 4 guys that could potentially be big impact players in the future for the Orioles. So the Orioles top 30, once they announce the rookies in there and everything like that, and once rookie ball starts getting going and all that stuff, it's really going to be looking stacked for the Orioles. And the Orioles, for a really long time, always consistently had one of the best farms in baseball. When you look back at Gunnar and Adley and Colton and Jackson and all these guys, right? But now, in their prospect farm right now, you've got guys like Vance Honeycutt and obviously Samuel Basallo, who's the 9th overall prospect in baseball and the 1st overall prospect for the Orioles. You got Dylan Beavers. You've got a ton of guys already on there right now, but obviously it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. But now, when you add in all of these prospects that they got today, plus the rookies, it's going to be looking insane for the Orioles. And what the Orioles can do now with all of these prospects is they are in a very comfortable position to trade some of these guys for potential, win now star or superstar players / pitchers. More so the pitchers. They can trade a lot of these prospect guys and go out and get win now star pitchers, whether that's in the bullpen or whether that's a starter pitcher. The Orioles have the leverage now in a lot of situations to trade for a lot of people and anybody that they want. It was like the exact same thing that happened last year where they were in reports to maybe be getting Garrett Crochet and trading for him, and there was even talks about getting Skubal at the deadline last year. They have everything that they need to go out and get whoever they want. The question is Mike Elias actually going to be pulling the trigger on that? And that's really the big question in all of this. But there was one more Orioles trade that I wanted to go over, and that was like at the buzzer, like 30 seconds before the deadline ended. The Orioles made a trade with the Tigers, where the Orioles sent Charlie Morton in cash considerations over to the Tigers for a left-handed pitcher named Micah Ashman, who is not in the top 30 for the Tigers. But we'll go over his stats in a second this year. In Double-A, I'm pretty sure he's been, solid for the Tigers. He's been somebody who's young, solid, has a pretty good stats. But the Orioles do trade Charlie Morton, so the Orioles ended up only trading one starting pitcher. Zach Eflin is still on this roster, and also Charlie Morton actually got put on IL today. So this is his 3rd IL stint of the season. I think it's a 15-day IL. So once again, the Orioles starting pitching is just in danger once again, just like the bullpen. So the pitching for the Orioles is going to be very interesting to see who we replace with certain guys. It's going to be very interesting to see who we bring on. But anyway, a big part of the Orioles season now is player development with these young guys. Guys like Dylan Beavers, guys like Samuel Basallo, guys like Kobe Mayo. All of these guys getting pretty regular at-bats now and seeing what they do. And then you head into spring training, make it a competitive spring training, and then obviously make sure you're in a good position heading into this season. And then obviously Mike Elias deals with the pitching, deals with the bullpen, deals with the starters, deals with all that. And he has the ability now to trade for like anybody that he wants, and he also has the money and the payroll to sign anybody that he wants. So there is no excuse now for the Orioles to just sit back, sit still, and do the same thing they did last offseason, because you're going to get equal results to this year and probably even worse as well, because you don't really have any veterans anymore on this team, like win-now players, guys like Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn. So overall, crazy deadline for the Orioles. Going over this guy's stats for Micah Ashman. He's 22. He has a 1.49 ERA and a .78 WHIP with 50 strikeouts and 9 walks in 42 innings between Double-A and A+. And he was not ranked in the Tigers, top 30. But I did see a lot of Tigers fans did come out and say that they do like this guy. So it's pretty interesting. He has pretty good stats in High A and Triple-A, High A and Double-A. So pretty decent stats. I don't mind this at all. He's somebody that can maybe again make an impact down the road. And again, what the Orioles did today is they just stacked up completely on prospects, mainly pitchers. And their pitching prospects look great. The hitting prospects obviously look great. And obviously you look at all the current young core that stays intact. You look at guys like Gunnar and Adley and Jackson Holiday and Jordan Westbrook and Colton Cowser, and then obviously you add in Kobe Mayo and you add in Samuel Basallo and you add in Dylan Beavers. That is the young core for this Orioles team moving forward into the future, and it stays intact. Mike Elias did not touch any of those guys. He touched, he traded Brian O'Hearn and Cedric Mullins and Ramon Laureano and Andrew Kittredge and all of these guys who are veterans and guys who were not going to necessarily have a role too long into the future with this Orioles team. Guys who obviously helped them win now and had excellent seasons. But in terms of the young core, it completely stays intact. Mike Elias did his thing. Mike Elias went out and did his due diligence to go trade these veterans and solely focus on the future of this Orioles team regarding the young players. Obviously, I understand that this Orioles team did this recently, but they had guys like Cedric and Ryan O'Hearn, and then they signed Ramon Laureano, and they already had veteran guys surrounding the team. But as it stands right now, this Orioles, the Orioles position players are all extremely young. A lot of the veterans are gone now, and now it's Mike Elias' job to surround these guys with young talent, and then you head into the future, and hopefully you can get this dynasty or potential dynasty back on track. Because again, 2 years ago, this team had everything looking forward for them. They won 100 games, then they won 90 games, and then this year they just hit a big roadblock, and then they had to sell off all of these veterans, and now you focus on the future. And maybe, just maybe, this season was kind of a blessing in disguise to sell off some of these veterans. And for as much as I, don't like to see these veterans go, as much as it hurts to see Ryan O'Hearn and Cedric Mullins and guys like that go, this is what's best for the team moving forward. I thought that maybe Ramon Laureano and Andrew Kittredge could help out next year, but obviously not. But overall, I'm not mad about this deadline at all. You go over to this post right here by Jacob Calvin-Meyer as well. Ahead of the deadline, the Orioles, it shows all the trades that they made. Brian Baker, Gregory Soto, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Andrew Kittredge, Ramon Urias, Cedric Mullins, Ramon Laureano, Ryan O'Hearn, Charlie Morton. And it shows everybody that they got in return. And it says, in total, they made 8 trades. They sold 9 MLB players and acquired 16 prospects, 11 pitchers, and 5 position players. So obviously, very pitcher-heavy in these trades. 10 of the 16 prospects are either now ranked inside Baltimore's top 30 or were in their previous organization's top 30. So that's a haul. I'm not going to lie. That is an absolute haul for these players. For as much as it hurts to see these guys go, down the line, this was the right decision, and this was better. This was best for the team moving forward. A lot of the fan base, again, is split 50-50 on kind of whether they like this or whether they don't. And I think at the end of the day, a big thing that people talk about is kind of just the nostalgia factor of seeing guys like, Cedric and Ryan O'Hearn go. Ryan was here for, less than 3 years. So the nostalgia isn't necessarily totally there, but he is somebody who made a big impact. Obviously, he was the Orioles' only All-Star this year. I'm going to miss him a lot. He was incredible this year. He deserves to go play winning baseball. Cedric Mullins obviously hurts because he was such a Orioles legend for so many years. But I think once we get over the nostalgia factor and we get over the fact that, these guys are gone, as we look forward into the future, this team is better. This team is going to be better. They have the prospects to do anything that they want. And whether they use these prospects coming up to help the team or whether they go out and trade these guys, no matter what it is, the future for this Orioles team is extremely bright, no matter what happens. And I think that Mike Elias really learned from his mistakes last offseason of just standing still. And look for him to be aggressive at this deadline. For any pitcher that's available for trade or any pitcher that's available to sign, look for him to be aggressive because I really do think that he's turning a new leaf right now. I really, really like this offseason or really like this trade deadline overall. Again, Ramon Laureano is someone that I think we should have kept, but at the end of the day, we couldn't, but we still got a ton of prospects. Obviously, 10 of the 16 that we got were ranked inside their previous organization's top 30 and our current top 30. And if you actually go and look at our current top 30 prospect list, it is a little bit updated with the new guys. Obviously, if you look at this list, you can see Boston Bateman here at 6. And if you remember, Boston Bateman was ranked 4 for the Padres, and he is now ranked 6 for the Orioles. So when you go to a new team, you're not necessarily going to be the exact same position that you were on your last team, but you should be somewhere similar. Obviously, Bateman ranked 6, previously ranked 4 with the Padres. You get on here and look at, but you look at all these guys. I mean, you look at Wilfred De La Cruz, who's ranked 23 on the Orioles list. He was previously ranked number 17 with the Cubs. Wellington Arancina, he used to be with the Mets in the Gregory Soto trade. He was ranked 19. He's ranked 22 with the Orioles. Cobb Hightower was ranked, I think, 6th with the Padres, and he's ranked 21 with the Orioles. So it all depends on who else is also in the prospect rankings and where you're going to rank. Obviously, if you look at this Orioles top 30, this is not even including the rookies that are going to be coming in. It's looking crazy. You got Anthony Nunez here from the Mets as well. It looks incredible. It looks absolutely incredible. Obviously, you still got Basayo as the number one prospect. You got Enrique Bradfield Jr., who's going to help out this Orioles team probably next year or the year after that. And then you got Dylan Beavers here as well. And Basayo and Dylan Beavers are the two main guys that we are all looking at right now to get called up by the Orioles. And those are going to be guys who we're going to be watching very closely this year, especially Samuel Basayo. I cannot wait for him to get called up and either get reps just as a DH or at first or maybe at catcher. We'll see, but it's going to be very interesting to watch. Someone who I think can make a big difference is Boston Bateman. He's someone that was in that Padres trade. He was the headliner of the return package that the Padres gave us. He was the 4th ranked prospect for the Padres. He is now the 6th ranked prospect for the Orioles. And if you're in a top 10 prospect rankings by team, it's a big deal, to be honest with you, and you value those guys very high. But Boston Bateman, his stats aren't too bad. This is technically his rookie year. He was drafted last year in the 2nd round, but he's 5-5 with a 4.08 ERA, 68 innings pitched, 75 strikeouts. Not the worst stats in the world at all. But if you go to his bio here, something that's very interesting about him is that he is 6'8". That would make him one of the tallest pitchers in baseball right now, and really one of the tallest pitchers all time in baseball as well. Boston Bateman is a 6'8" pitcher who could potentially make his impact on the Orioles in the next few years. Again, he is only 19 years old, so there still is a lot of work to be done. But when you look at this Orioles farm system, they have really become, once again, one of the best farm systems in baseball. And to be honest with you, I don't think it would be crazy to say that the Orioles farm system is top 3 or top 5 in baseball right now. I mean, it is incredible. When you look at the top 100 overall prospects, Connor Griffin is first, Chase Burns is second, and Leo DeVries is third. But when you look at the top 100 prospects overall, the Orioles only have one top 100 prospect, and there's some teams that have no top 100 prospects. Like the Padres have none anymore because they traded one of them to the Athletics today. But when you look at the top 100 prospects overall, the Orioles only have one top 100 prospect, but he is the 9th overall prospect of those top 100 in Samuel Basayo, someone who's going to be making his Orioles debut very soon. It's going to be so exciting and so fun to see him play. Cannot wait for that to happen. It cannot come soon enough for the Orioles. But again, the Orioles are in a good spot right now, guys. The Orioles are in a good spot. Obviously, the rest of the season is going to be it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to watch overall. If we go actually and look at the Orioles' current depth chart, it looks a lot different. And tomorrow the Orioles start up their new series. It's a weekend series against the Cubs. So tomorrow is going to be a weekend series against the Cubs. And all of them are early games, so I think we play at 1:20 the next 3 days in a row. So those are going to be interesting. Again, we'll have episodes up every single day. But it's going to be a different looking team tomorrow. If you look at the starting pitchers, you got Zach Eflin, Kyle Bradish, Dean Kramer, Tomoyuki Sagano, Trevor Rogers. Obviously, Bradish and Eflin aren't going to be playing, so you're going to have to find replacements for those guys. You look at the bullpen, you've got Yanir Cano, you've got Cade Stroud, you've got Grant Wolfram, you've got Corbin Martin, Keegan Aiken. The bullpen looks completely different than what it looks like. You're going to be getting 4 or 5 new faces next year in the bullpen for sure. But really at catcher, you've got Adley and Gary, and then potentially, Samuel Basayo, if they are going to have him work at catcher. I have a feeling that they're going to have him work first, but we'll see what happens with that. At first base, we've got Kobe Mayo now is really the primary first baseman. Ryan Mountcastle is here as well. He is going to be coming back here soon. He's someone that a lot of Orioles fans might have forgotten about. But Ryan Mountcastle and Kobe Mayo are going to be playing a lot of first. I don't know what we're going to do with Ryan Mountcastle, and I also don't know what we're going to do with Basayo. I would think that Basayo is going to be playing catcher or first, but if he's not really going to have room to play either, we could call him up and just have him really be a primary DH with his bat, and then maybe work him out more at first in spring training. But Kobe Mayo is going to be getting a ton of reps at first as the season goes on now. Then we got Jackson Holliday, obviously, at second. We've got Jordan Westbrook at third, with Kobe Mayo, who can also play third. Gunnar Henderson at short. Colton Cowser at left. And then we have Jordan Adams here at center. But to be honest with you, for the rest of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Colton at center, and then Tyler O'Neill right, and then Dylan Beavers at left. So I think that's how it's going to go. And then as your DH spot, you've got either Ryan Mountcastle, as I said, either Ryan Mountcastle or Samuel Basayo. So again, the Orioles are going to have a lot of work to do in terms of who they figure out who to play. But all I know is that guys like Dylan Beavers and Kobe Mayo, especially those two, are going to be getting a lot of opportunities the rest of the season to make their mark and to show and just get regular at-bats and really just to show some development and see how they play. This is really Kobe Mayo's first time getting like a full trial now with the Orioles for the rest of the year. And then once Dylan Beavers comes up, he's going to get a chance to show himself off as well as we head into the end of the season, and then obviously as we head into spring training as well. So it's going to be a fun rest of the regular season. Obviously, the Orioles are sitting at 50-59. But to be honest with you, I'm probably just not really going to mention like the Orioles, whatever game's back from 500, and I'm not really even going to mention where they are in the standings behind like in a playoff spot or whatnot. Because to be honest with you guys, this team is not making the playoffs, and we've known this for a really long time, but now you can kind of just officially confirm it in your head that this team is not going to make the playoffs. Mike Elias made his decision, obviously, to punt the season, which was the right decision, but he made the decision to punt the season. This starting pitching staff over the next few weeks or so is going to be horrible. The bullpen's going to be horrible, but this offense is going to be very fun and interesting to watch. Obviously, all these guys are healthy. You're going to see new faces like Basayo and Beavers. You're going to see Kobe get even more at-bats than he already does and more consistent playing time. So it's going to be very fun to watch. Obviously, we're going to see Cal Bradish coming back sometime, either mid-August is hopefully the time frame for Cal Bradish. So we'll see him come back, who in my opinion is the Orioles' best pitcher overall. So we're going to see him come back. Hopefully he can do well, end the season off well, and then go into next season healthy. And then we're also going to see Tyler Wells come back, who's somebody who is really going to play the act, really is the Orioles' closer probably for the rest of the year. So there is some very interesting little points to watch for the rest of the season. Most of it is going to be the offense. That's going to be a big focus. So whenever we go over these Orioles games for the rest of the year, starting now for the rest of the season, as we go over Orioles games, we're really going to be highlighting the offense and the development and how guys do and how guys look and how players are playing, because now this entire lineup is young. Colton, Gunnar, Jackson, Adley, Kobe, Colton, all these guys are young players. Really, other than like Tyler O'Neill and Ryan Mountcastle, I guess, are young, but they're still younger players. Like, how old is Tyler O'Neill? I think he is 30. Yeah, he's 30 years old. So not like crazy old, but he's like the oldest player on the team now, really, in terms of the hitters. So obviously, watching these young talent, watching these young players are going to be fun to watch. Whoever gets called up from the minors, whether that's Jeremiah Jackson or Dylan Beavers or Basayo or whoever it is, we're going to be watching them intensely, seeing how they do. So it's going to be a lot of like scouting and development watching the rest of the season, which is going to be a lot of fun. It sucks that the Orioles season obviously had to go this way. It sucks that they couldn't be buyers at the deadline like they've been over the past couple of years. If you remember 2 years ago, their big buying point, they got Fujinami, and they also traded for Jack Flaherty, which ended up being not great for them. But then last year, they got Eflin, they got Rogers and stuff like that. So the Orioles the past 2 years have been buyers. They haven't been like crazy big buyers, because at the end of the day, as we know, Mike Elias is not someone that's going to do anything crazy big in terms of like moves in free agency or the trade deadline. The biggest move that Mike Elias has made in terms of like blockbuster was the Corbin Burns trade, but he was only here for 1 year and then he left and whatever. So I think overall, to end this episode, what I just want to say is I'm happy that Mike Elias took this route. I'm happy with what's going on. I'm happy with the future. I'm excited for the future. There's a lot of things to look forward to, whether that's the prospects, whether that's the returns that we're going to get for guys that we trade the prospects for, like potential star pitchers, potential star players, whoever it is. It's going to be very exciting. I know I've talked a lot this episode. We're going on like 50 minutes right now, but again, this Orioles team has their future looking extremely bright and even brighter than it looked going into this season. So maybe this was a blessing in disguise that the Orioles weren't playing that good this year. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise to get rid and trade some of these veterans. For as much as it hurts me, I don't want to sit here and be nostalgic and hate that we traded these guys for the next few weeks. I think that the Orioles have figured out that this year they haven't been good this year, so they understand post-trade deadline they're still not going to be good. They realize that they want to punt the season. They realize their place right now. And Mike Elias went out there, and not only was he a seller, he was a big seller. And he sold a lot of his players, got rid of them. Obviously, it sucks to see Cedric and Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano and guys like that go. And for as much as it hurts emotionally, for as much as it sucks nostalgic-wise, I think we can hold our head up high and be happy with this Orioles future, because this Orioles future overall is extremely bright. There's a lot of things to look forward to, not just this season, but over the next 3, 4, 5 years as well. So Orioles baseball is nowhere near dead. This team's potential is still through the roof, and these trades just strengthened our future even more. And for, again, as much as it sucks to get rid of players who are playing so good currently, obviously this season doesn't matter, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter in terms of wins anymore. So if we win or we lose, whatever happens, I just want to see the Orioles obviously go out there and get wins. But if we're not winning games, I just want to see development. And even when we win games, I still want to see development. That's going to be the major focus of this entire season for the Orioles. And it's also going to be the major focus point for the rest of the show, for the rest of the season as we cover the Orioles, is development with the players. Because that, again, is the most important thing moving forward throughout this Orioles season. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. I know it was a long episode. It was a longer episode than usual. I don't think I've done an episode this long since like the NFL draft, like mock drafts that I did. But I appreciate you guys. For anyone that stayed through the whole video, I really, really, really do appreciate it. I love you guys so much. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and make sure to like the video as well. Make sure to follow up on the Spotify as well. All the support means the world from you guys. And if you want to see more content on Twitter, I'm posting like every day on Twitter, every hour, every second, whatever it is, every sort of like Orioles update, live reactions to anything. You can see my live reactions to the trades, and just live updates, reactions to anything going on Orioles and Ravens related on there. It's very fun over on the Twitter. Make sure to give that a follow. It's in the link in the bio of whatever platform you're listening on, and also make sure to look at the Instagram as well. It's in the same link as well. Make sure to give that a follow. I post an update on every single time that a episode is posted, so make sure to give those a follow. Again, I appreciate you guys so much for all the support of this show. This is episode 109, arguably my biggest episode so far in terms of content. Obviously, there was a ton of stuff to talk about regarding the Orioles and their trades and the prospects and the state of the team and what the future looks like, and how confident I am in this team and my reaction to everything and all that stuff. So I appreciate you guys for sitting here listening to me yap and talk about the Orioles and the Ravens. Obviously the Ravens not in this episode, but the Orioles, because obviously that was the big point of conversation. But again, I appreciate you guys so much again for all the support. The Orioles do have a 3-game series tomorrow in Chicago, starting tomorrow. It's going to be very fun. Game 1 is going to be Trevor Rogers on the mound tomorrow. Trevor Rogers, the demon, the guy who's been so incredible for the Orioles all year. Obviously, arguably the best Orioles pitcher on this team. Him and, really, him and him and Kyle Bradish really were like the two best pitchers this year. Well, not this year, but, overall. You know what I mean. But Trevor Rogers on the mound tomorrow should be very fun. This weekend's series against the Cubs in Chicago, they're all day games for some reason. I don't really know. I know some other teams are having all day games as well, so I don't really know what the deal with that is. But there will be episodes up tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. Probably like a decent hour, probably like around 5 or 6 o'clock. The episodes will be up. So make sure to give those a listen tomorrow when those are out. So I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow talking about the Cubs and Orioles game. Again, we're going to be going over development of guys. We'll see how everything looks tomorrow. The team is going to look not completely different, but the team is going to look very different tomorrow. And it really does start like a new era in a way of Orioles baseball. Like Cedric Mullins is now gone, and it kind of starts a new era of Orioles baseball with a new leader of the team. Obviously, he was the longest tenured Oriole, so really to start like a new era of Orioles baseball starting tomorrow. Team's going to look very different, but we'll see what happens with that. And hopefully the Orioles can go out and get a win with their new squad, but we'll see what happens with that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a great sales night. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see you later. Peace out.